The anime begins with the protagonist, Tsubasa Shiki, communicating with his father while traveling in a taxi. His father apologizes for being unable to receive him and asks him to go home for now. Shortly after, Tsubasa asks the driver to drop him off at a particular location, and upon getting out, he is amazed by the snowy landscape that surrounds him. In this place, he comments on the spaciousness of the area, the absence of people and cars, in stark contrast to Tokyo. He also notices that the air is fresh, but upon taking a deep breath, he feels the icy cold and senses his lungs freezing, realizing the harsh winter of Hokkaido. He regrets moving at this time and attempts to use his phone, but the cold and his gloves prevent him from using the touchscreen. At that moment, he notices the presence of a girl, a gal named Minami Fuyuki, surprised to find her in Hokkaido. He observes that she doesn't cover her legs or wear warm clothing, while he is bundled up and feels very cold. As he approaches, Minami asks what's wrong, and Tsubasa, somewhat embarrassed, explains that he needs help getting to a place, showing her the map on his phone. At a short distance, Tsubasa notices that Minami has a rosy nose and finds her attractive. Minutes later, she points him in the right direction and, before leaving, asks if he'll be walking. Tsubasa confirms, but Minami warns him that it will take about 3 hours and that it's snowing, emphasizing how far Kitami, the largest city in the prefecture, is. Seeing Tsubasa struggling, Minami suggests waiting for the bus together, which will arrive in about 5 minutes. Grateful, Tsubasa agrees. Minami discovers that he recently moved from Tokyo due to family matters and is amazed, commenting that he will surely adapt to the place. Tsubasa responds that it's quite the opposite, finding the place relaxing. Later, Minami learns that they are the same age and both attend Hokuo High School. Excited, she latches onto Tsubasa's arm, who blushes when he realizes she touched something soft. As time passes, Tsubasa thinks it's wonderful to talk to a girl like this, something he never did in Tokyo. However, lost in his thoughts, Minami throws snow inside his clothes, causing a comical reaction. Though initially startled, he realizes it was just snow. Looking at Minami, he is paralyzed by her beautiful, cheerful face and can't help but praise her beauty aloud. Minami, embarrassed, playfully hits his shoulder, and they both share a laugh. It is at that moment when the bus arrives, and she bids farewell to leave. Before her departure, Tsubasa asks for her name, to which she responds that her name is Minami Fuyu. Once she boards the bus, Tsubasa feels happy about moving to Hokkaido. While on the bus, Minami mentions how cool it would be if he were in her class. Later, the time comes for Tsubasa's first day of classes, and he introduces himself to his class. Taking his seat, he notices the absence of the girl he met, assuming she must be in another class. He tries not to let it affect him, but soon he is surprised to see Minami entering through the back door. Making eye contact, she expresses joy at seeing him again and is very friendly. It turns out they are in the same class, and she even sits next to Tsubasa. After this encounter, Minami is delighted to meet him and calls him by his name, Tsubasa, in an attractive way, which confuses Tsubasa as only his family and friends address him that way. During the class, Tsubasa realizes the intense cold in the room as he notices others wearing blazers and blankets, something he didn't investigate enough. Minami notices and offers him a blanket, explaining that she usually carries two because she easily gets sick, and she doesn't mind lending him one. Using the blanket, Tsubasa feels its warmth and notices a pleasant aroma, as if Minami were hugging him. At the end of the class, Tsubasa returns the blanket and thanks her for the gesture. While Minami starts to smell the blanket, she comments that it seems as if their scents have blended, making Tsubasa feel embarrassed. Amidst this, she suggests that perhaps there's a way he could thank her for the blanket. Leaving school, she explains that she had no one to accompany her home, and that's the favor she's asking of him. On the way, Minami tells him that she will take the train to get home and asks if he has a girlfriend, to which Tsubasa emphatically responds no, amusing Minami. During their conversation, they discuss Tokyo's dating spots, surprising Minami with the variety compared to Kitami, where, according to her, people don't go out for dates in winter due to the cold, instead, they stay at each other's houses. They reach the station, but before parting ways, Minami asks if he would like to come to her house the next day, as there are no classes and she wants to ask him more about Tokyo. Although Tsubasa agrees with some difficulty in speaking, he thinks about how they ended up in this situation, finding it hard to believe that he's actually going to a girl's house. The awaited day arrives, and Tsubasa finds himself in front of Minami's house, contemplating the possible consequences if her parents discover him. Despite his doubts, the temptation is too great, and he rings the bell, communicating with her to get permission to enter. Minami informs him that he's lucky as her parents aren't home, confusing Tsubasa and triggering a series of thoughts. Minami leads him to the living room, where Tsubasa feels the floor is warm due to the radiant heating and a massive radiator. Settling in the room, Minami serves him a drink, but when pouring hers, she lets out a small scream, spilling it and revealing a small disaster that leaves Tsubasa nearly choking in surprise at the stain on her clothes. After she leaves to change, Tsubasa manages to calm down by breathing slowly. However, upon her return, Minami is dressed in much more revealing clothing, leaving Tsubasa petrified and screaming in his mind that the Dark Lord is coming. Unable to avoid it, he asks her why she dressed like that. Minami explains that it's warm inside, and that's what she usually wears at home. Immediately, Tsubasa takes out a movie from his bag to show her. However, when he turns to look at her again, he has an even more tempting view, covering his face to avoid looking. When Minami asks if something's wrong seeing him blushing with closed eyes, he responds that nothing's wrong. As they progress with the movie, a steamy scene comes up, making Tsubasa somewhat uncomfortable, and he can't proceed past that part for fear of it being awkward for Minami. Suddenly, he hears strange sounds from Minami, starting to imagine strange things and not daring to look at her. To make matters worse, she starts touching him with her foot, making him even more alarmed. However, when he looks at her, he realizes she's fast asleep on the sofa, sighing in relief. He wonders if he let his guard down too quickly, not understanding why she can sleep with a guy in front of her. After thinking for a bit, he realizes it's because she doesn't see him as a man, which he finds sad. Minutes later, she wakes up and asks about the movie. Tsubasa tells her it's over and she was sleeping so well he didn't want to wake her. He leaves her the Blu-ray and tells her she can return it whenever she wants, getting ready to leave. She notices Tsubasa's coat and asks what he has on. Tsubasa explains that, although it's warm inside, he thought she might catch a cold dressed like that, so he covered her with his coat. He takes back the coat, saying it's getting dark, and she should go, thanking him for visiting. As he leaves, she follows him and apologizes for unintentionally falling asleep, but what he does is approach to cover her with his scarf, concerned about her attire. Minami feels grateful and embarrassed, saying the scarf is very warm. He feels relieved, but suddenly sneezes. She approaches to hold his hand, telling him she's hungry and inviting him to Seiko Mar to apologize, running cheerfully with him hand in hand. Later, they arrive at the store and enjoy a meal together. Minami tells him that they prepare the onigiri they sell right there and gives him one to try. Upon seeing it, he notices rice on his cheek, and she takes it with her finger to eat it, causing Tsubasa to blush with embarrassment. So ends the first episode of this long-awaited anime. For now, I would love to hear your opinion, leave it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content and give the video a thumbs up. This is Prime Animes, see you on the next occasion.